Hi, I'm Jim Wright, the General Director of Vancouver Opera, and I'm pleased to visit with you about the 2013-14 opera season. It's a season that has something for everyone, I think. We have a work from the 18th century, two works from the 19th century, and a very important but not very often produced 20th century piece by Benjamin Britten. Don Giovanni, Tosca, Don Carlo, which this company hasn't produced in 40 years, a late Verdi masterpiece, and this Benjamin Britten piece that I'd like to visit a little bit with you about. I'm really pleased that Vancouver Opera is producing a work by Benjamin Britten, probably, arguably, I would say, Great Britain's greatest opera composer. He wrote this piece after the war and set it in the early 20th century in a small, fictional, obviously, little town of Luxford, England. Our production, which is a co-production with our friends in Victoria, Pacific Opera Victoria, is set in 1950, early 1950. And by the way, we have worked very closely with POV and have scaled the production so that it works both in their smaller stage and our bigger stage. And so we're very excited to be working with our colleagues on a new production like this. Albert Herring is a coming-of-age story. It's a gentle, slightly mocking, it very seriously mocks the pretentiousness of the town leaders of this little town and their self-appointed seriousness and their self-appointed governance of the community. But it's, which is lots of fun. But it's really the coming of age of a young man who is under the thumb of his widowed mother, who owns the grocery store, the general store. And Albert is a very good boy under the thumb of his mother. The busybodies of the town, who have a committee to pick the May Queen every year, are having a hard time. They feel they can't find a young woman who has the virtues necessary to be the May Queen. They're very concerned that no young woman is measuring up to their standards. So finally, with frantically, they hit upon Albert, the young man who runs his mother's grocery store, and they decide to have a May King instead of Queen, and it will be Albert. Of course, like all of us, Albert has a very active inner life, whether it seems to the selection committee or not. He does. And we see this come out when we go to the picnic when Albert is being proclaimed the May King, and he has a few too many sips of the lemonade that's been spiked mischievously by his friends. And when it comes time for him to make his acceptance speech, all he can say is a meek, "Thank you. Thank you." That's all he's able to say. Well, the vicar feels badly for Albert, and he decides to give his speech for him. And what really happens is it turns into this over-the-top paean to Albert. Albert the Good, Albert the Good. And there's a wonderful musical selection during this picnic scene. After this crowning ceremony, if you will, Albert goes back to the store and ruminates about his life and how unexciting it is and how bored he is and how he's missed out on so much of the life of a young person by being so closely tied to his mother's apron strings. And he decides to go out and enjoy life, and he disappears. And he can't be found overnight. And the selection committee and his friends and his mother are all concerned about what's happened to Albert. He's disappeared. The selection committee and the family and the friends are ready to mourn Albert's loss, that they'll never see him again, perhaps, when Albert reappears, a little worse for the wear, a little under the weather, having visited a pub and other assorted places, and everyone is shocked. His mother has to go to bed. She's so upset. His friends congratulate him on his newfound freedom. And finally, Albert says to himself and to us, "I've done that. I feel a lot better." And then he puts his apron back on and goes back to minding the store, a fuller, more realized young man than when the opera started.